Alistair Hignell said leading up to this match, this is for many their Everest moment in their rugby careers. The summit has been reached, but can they live up to the occasion? Enjoy the moment even, though it's such a total shock to the system. Now, before we have the national anthems, we will pay respect to Nelson Mandela, the man who made such a difference both to his country and to the world.
To Nelson Mandela. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'd ask you please to remain upstanding now for the national anthem, to be led by James Robinson and Rose Rams. God save our gracious Queen.
So the formalities are done with. It's time to get on with it. Cambridge's new coach Andy Key said these teams have been given their Heineken Cup final 12 months ago. They've known their destination. Well, it's here and now. Who's got the mettle, the composure to effect what the coaches have put in place, the discipline to keep the focus when the pressure comes on, as it surely will at some point, the stamina to keep going from first whistle till last. The bonhomie, bubbly and booze from the West Car Park and beyond is packed away for the next hour and a half. This is us and them, the opposition, whose name cannot be uttered in the lead-up. The Cotswolds against East Anglia, the dark blues against the light blues. Matt Carley, the man on the whistle, the man to say the 132nd Varsity match is underway. It really is such a tense atmosphere before kick-off, Tyrone. They've really got to settle themselves down now and make sure that emotion does not rule their heads.
Absolutely, they just have to revert to all the preparation they've done in training leading up to this point. You've got to get yourself into the game. Composure and patience the key at the start.
We've certainly talked about the history of this game, but as we mentioned, the winds of Varsity change seem to be afoot, with the LX Club, the second team, if you will, from Cambridge, beating the Oxford Greyhounds for the first time in 10 years last week. The colleges have also won their Varsity match, and the under-21s beat their opposite numbers earlier on this afternoon. So can Cambridge Blues complete the deal this afternoon as Oxford go looking for that fourth successive victory? Won the last three and won 4 of the last 5, though has to be said the first one of that was when Cambridge were looking for 4 on the trot. Be interesting to see how that plays out psychologically this afternoon. Confidence of winning or fear of losing. It's a huge factor. That's not a good start for John Hudson, but the pass not helping the fly half.
But interesting, Oxford playing their way out of their 22 up into the Cambridge half, very much trusting themselves, ball in hand. Here we see a little sign, Jacob Taylor, the flyer in the Oxford 15 shirt, instinct is going to be to counter-attack, run with the ball.
John Hudson, the only international on duty, a Swiss international, would you believe? Played against Germany 3 years ago. Having been born in Manchester, played his rugby all over the world, played for the French club Annemasse as well. Full-back 2 years ago, and that's a big, big marker for the dark blue scrum. What a first engagement.
Well, you can see what it means to them. You will not see a more dominant scrum. This is extraordinary. Look at that, the power coming through from the front row, absolutely marmalising that Cambridge pack. Very ominous for the Cambridge yet, and they've got to sort that out immediately. You cannot be waiting for anything coming off the touchline or half-time. You've got to sort that out, because if that set-piece dominance continues, you can just see penalties coming one after the other. They've got to get the set-piece settled.
Well, the mind winds back 12 months, and when Cambridge dominated pretty much the first half hour, particularly in the scrum set piece, but Oxford came back in the second half with great impact and great effect, of course, to take that victory.
You're always looking to learn from your experiences, and certainly Oxford from last year will want to start this game in much more emphatic shape.
Well, they'll be happy if they can start with 3 points inside the first 3 minutes. John Hudson winning his third blue this afternoon. Flying half last year and full-back the year before. He knows what to expect in these circumstances. Flirting with the crossbar, but not quite enough juice.
22.
The 28-year-old experienced enough to be able to take that as a rangefinder. Don Stevens, his opposite number, similarly experienced. There he is, the South African, normally a scrum half, but happy to play in the 10 shirt for the Light Blues this season. And for the Eastern Province Kings at 9, also Grey College and Stellenbosch University, so quite a rugby CV for the Cambridge 10. And it certainly seems to be the dark blues that are having the better of the opening exchanges, both in loose and tight at the moment. Pick up from Nick Gardner. Lewis Anderson winning his fourth blue. Started last year, but before that been replacement off the bench for the previous 2 years. Turnover for Cambridge. Little chip over the top from Toby May. May picks up the ball, and suddenly Cambridge find themselves on the front foot. Next pod waiting to go, led by Jack Baker. Peck and Stevens, quick to get width on it. Andy Murdoch, solo try scorer for the Light Blues last season. Peck again looking at his option, the little dab over the top, and that is a very well executed little box kick from the Cambridge 9.
Very positive response from Cambridge. That all came from the ruck. They managed
That's your mark.
to just counter-ruck and win that turnover. Good intent there from Toby May.
If you want to compete.
And then spread the ball across the pitch. It augurs well for the game over 80 minutes, that both sides have clearly come out in this opening 5 minutes to play ball in hand.
And in the last 22 years, only once have we had no try in this contest. That was back in 2001. And indeed, the last 2 years, Oxford have outscored Cambridge 3 tries to 1 on both occasions to lift a trophy.
Use it, please!
Both coaches, Andy Key and James Wade, have made a thing about playing the right sort of rugby. The turnover there for the Light Blues, and John Carter and his scrum now going to see what they're about as Cambridge try and get their team onto the front foot in the red zone.
Yeah, you don't get too many opportunities. You get the odd miss, maybe an intercept or some kick that goes awry, but generally you don't get that many opportunities in a varsity match. You've got to try and come away with points every time you visit the opposition's 22.
Certainly that's what Cambridge affected
Right, bind long. Keep your head
last
above your
season,
hips.
9 points to nil after the first quarter, and 16-6 they were up at the break. But we saw such a dramatic turnaround last season.
Bind. Set. Yes, 9.
Briggs and Sanders, the props for Cambridge. Captain and team secretary, both medical students, both at Morden College. And it's Sanders setting up position for his scrum half. Sam Farmer trying to take the direct route, but plenty of runners now packing that right channel. Here they go, hands from May, and it's in the corner for Nick Jones. Now I think Matt Carley is just going to check this. Let's have a listen to what the referee's asking.
The second to last pass, and then just check if it's try yes or no.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Matt Carley is going to bring Graham Hughes into action just to
Can I
check the validity
the second to last pass, please, and then try yes or no.
of the pass
Checking
and the grounding.
pass, and then try yes or no.
Premiership protocols in place for this game.
Tom,
Here we go.
Can we have the volume turned up, please?
Well, before the ball ever came out, we saw this Cambridge backline at real depth, allowing them to run onto the ball at pace. There's nothing wrong with that Oxford defence, but they just get caught in. Left winger Henry Lamont needs to maybe just track out a little bit, but lovely hands. That looks as if it's at worst lateral. Ball in the right hand to make it into the corner. And certainly there doesn't seem to be a huge amount wrong with that.
Well, the key is always on the position of the hands. That's what we're always being told.
It's that one they're looking at. They're looking at the second last pass. Nothing wrong with the final one.
Christian Cook, the Cambridge 12. There's the pass from the Dane.
It's a lovely take and give there. The line in the grass almost gives you a little hint, but I think you've got to favour the attacking side there. I think that's a try.
Well, the former Oxford Blue Tyrone Howe says it's a Cambridge try.
Can't believe I've just said that.
Neither can I.
It's a great finish as well.
It's a really good finish from the 23-year-old. Come through the Otago development groups in New Zealand, and already this season scored tries against the London Scottish, against Sydney University.
Okay, Matthew.
Here we go.
Yeah.
There's nothing clear about the pass and the grounding's fine, so you may award the try.
Try.
Yep.
Listen for the roar.
Time on, please.
Well, we talked about taking your chances, and Oxford certainly started the brighter there. You saw that dominant scrum, but Cambridge, they got enough. They got enough to get down into the Oxford 22 and came away with points. Lovely take and give here. Beautiful hands from Toby May. A good finish from Nick Jones. He's a big strapping lad. Lovely hands.
What a start for the Light
Tom,
Blues. Now,
I still couldn't hear
Don
Graham
Stevens, 11 from 11 against London Scottish, 6 from 6 against Sydney University. But here goes the first kick in the Varsity match 2013, and that's why he's such a valuable asset to the Light Blues.
That's a heck of a kick from there. Angle was all against him. Just weighted it perfectly as well. As you say, Simon, just 2 points here, 3 points there. If you know you've got a kicker who can convert those chances and that pressure into points, it's worth a heck of a, if only to the confidence of your side, never mind on the scoreboard.
And especially early on inside the first 10 minutes, when adrenaline is surging around those bodies.
That's taken in.
It's just a start that Andy Key will have wanted for his new charges. The take from Jacob Taylor. Dangerous to let this man go running. Goes hunting for space, but sends the ball up to his opposite number. There's Toby May.
Set on the line, please.
Wants to be a headmaster, doing his PGCE in general primary at Homerton College. But played his rugby at Westcombe Park. The line out for Nick Gardner. There's Christian Cook, integral part in that try 3 weeks ago. Before that London Scottish game, he had to go back to the pavilion at Grange Road with stomach pains, was rushed to hospital. The next morning had an appendix operation.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Well, he hasn't played rugby since, and now he's back in the varsity match. Quite a remarkable return for the land economy student from Copenhagen. Unforced errors are going to be part and parcel of this varsity, no question. It's a matter of how you rebound from it. And Oxford will try and negate that thought from heads now as they put in another huge hit on the light blues pack. Peck demanding the ball back. There's his number 8, Sam Farmer. He's linked up with Northampton Saints for a couple of years in their academy. And now studying English at Wolfson College. Turnover ball though.
Well, Harry Peck needed to get down on that ball quicker to the Cambridge backs. But Oxford turning it over gives them a chance just as this defence is disorganised.
Henry Hughes setting up the position for Sam Edgerton. Cambridge will not need reminding what a threat Edgerton's dancing feet are, especially around the fringe. Scored the first try last year, made the last one, with moments of individual brilliance that's turned the match in Oxford's favour. Gavin Turner takes his team almost up to 22. Cambridge have got an injury down on this near side. And it is that man, Sam Farmer. Well, the set pieces have been a cause for concern for the light blues.
Well, the referee could arguably have given a penalty here. You wonder, mind you, whether the Oxford scrum are actually just coming up rather than going straight. But the Cambridge pack just managed to salvage it. But this is the big turnover that allows Oxford to reclaim the ball.
Just if you're in for what the scrum is,
They just fell badly. Christian Cook, just the ball being allowed to get onto that Cambridge side.
As well, please.
It doesn't look to me like Sam Farmer's going to be able to continue. Well, shades of Oxford from last year when John Carter had to leave the game at the end of the first quarter. That's sad news for Sam Farmer. Charlie O'Sullivan, the Cork man, coming on for an earlier opportunity than he was expecting to get his first blue.
Stop shouting!
The line-out communication not quite working as Cambridge would have liked, that's for sure. They've had
he's off his feet.
Brett Deacon working with the Cambridge University squad
I'll give you the
for the last few weeks. Also Steve Pope working with the forwards, and Andy Key taking overall control. There's Gus Jones, who I mentioned John Carter's exit last year. Gus Jones, former England under-18s captain now in the England under-20s, and quite a prospect, part of the London Wasps elite player development group. Again, a huge hit from the Oxford 8, allowing John Carter to pick up and present the ball for his forwards. Oxford happy to pick and drive and just test out this Cambridge fringe defence before releasing the backs. Matt Yanni didn't play last year, part of his modern languages course took him to Russia, but happy to be back in the throng once again this year, no question about that. Came off the bench in 2011, but a starter in 2013 and going to have quite an impact from midfield, according to coach James Wade. Will Rowland, team secretary and a man with a real rugby future, according to the Oxford head coach, is John Carter. A man with a real rugby past, perhaps, providing the ball for Oxford, and Yanni. Well, good Cambridge defence, shutting him down in the end. Andy Murdoch knows the threat of that man, Yanni.
Well, Cambridge having to scrap and scramble for their lives. This Oxford pack fancies itself picking and going one-off runners, really attacking the fringes and then trying to release this pass. This pass just need to be fired out a little bit more quickly. Well covered by Cambridge, but they're having to do a heck of a lot of work in defence. Oxford playing with a lot of confidence, and you wonder whether it might be a case of the Oxford pack and Edgerton at 9 against what we've seen already, a very talented Cambridge backline.
Well, it's the Oxford pack that are making hay around the loose, and suddenly they're inside the 5 metres. The forwards trying to twist the screw. They've got the advantage from the referee, but those forwards see white line, and that's where they're heading. Lewis Anderson. Carly's seen enough and no advantage accruing.
Hand in the tackle.
Well, given the dominance, you'd expect them to go for the scrum, I'd have thought. Sometimes so early in a game you'd go for the 3 points. They might just fancy themselves, back themselves early.
Captain.
Carter calling for the scrum, and with the ascendancy they've already achieved in the first quarter of an hour, no surprise at that one.
No great surprise at all.
Thank you.
And they may well just try and keep the ball in the scrum here. Put the pressure, look for penalties potentially from the referee.
Well, one of the pinnacle moments in any game. Scrum on the 5 metre line. Can Oxford make something of this first real opportunity? Edgerton puts in, Carter holds, drives towards the line, 2 metres away, Carter picks and over, and the referee gives the try. And look how popular that is. John Carter earning his 4th blue and getting the try on the board for his team in his final Varsity appearance.
Well, control there, almost so much momentum, quite difficult to control the ball at his feet there, Carter. And love a little closer look at this. The referee was in a clear position, seemed to almost hit the line and then be forced back, but of course that's enough. Referee right on the money there in terms of his positioning, no doubt at all.
Well, Carter still playing with a broken finger this afternoon, been taped together, stapled together, suffered a severe concussion for the first 6 weeks of the season, though James Wade, who lives with him in Oxford when they're training, says he didn't actually notice any difference. But he'll notice difference now after that try, and if John Hudson can add the extras to square this up inside the first quarter. Hudson doesn't find the target again. Well, it may only be 2 points at this moment, but that's 5 points that have gone begging from the boot of John Hudson inside the first quarter.
We just wonder just how much control there was there. It certainly seemed to fall on the ball. It seemed to slightly squirt out from his hands, but can't argue the referee was right on the spot.
Great take. What a take that was from Andy Murdoch. Stevens looking for his forwards inside. That's Jack Baker. Stevens smothered as he took the return ball, but it's still there for Harry Peck. There's Baker, great athletic capability, this young second row. 800 metre and 1500 metre runner. at school, and you can see that if he gets a chance in open play with hands on the ball, he's like an auxiliary back rower.
Away 6!
Cambridge need to look after the young scrum half a little bit better, being slightly left on his own. That's much better, 3 players in front of him.
Well, Harry Peck, such history. The Cambridge number 9, his dad Ian, as we've already heard, a blue in 1979, lost that game, but then came back as captain in 80, but missed it with injury.
Never released.
Well, Ian Peck played county cricket for Northamptonshire in the early 80s alongside fellow double blue, then Robin Boyd Moss, whose son James is waiting on the Cambridge bench to play alongside Harry.
Must show clear release.
Coincidences abound through this varsity. Harry now teaching art at Cumberton Village College. Thoughts that he may be joining Bedford after Christmas, especially with Luke Baldwin now going to Bristol.
Pulling them off their feet, okay?
Let's just take a look at that restart and look at this claim.
Steps out to the left.
Well, these are young athletes. They train incredibly hard, spend lots of time in the gym, working their skills. It's as close almost to a professional setup as you get outside professional clubs.
Well, that's what both Andy Key and James Wade have been trying to do, is to get a professional structure in that amateur students can work within and improve the game, and that would seem to be certainly the case that has happened in both camps over the last few years. Now, Don Stevens. Plenty of welly behind that, and 3 points in the bag for the Light Blues.
Well, those 5 points, big difference simply between the 10s. Stevens has got his conversion and his penalty. Hudson has missed his penalty and his conversion. You just wonder how important are these 10s going to be on the final whistle.
Very good point. Time will only tell. Right now, as the game moves into the second quarter, it's advantage Light Blues.
Use it! Always inside.
Inviting the Oxford back 3 to run it back. Yanni, quite a sizable presence, 6'1", 14.5 stone, but unable to get his team up over halfway. John Carter, slightly bigger, finds a similar brick wall.
Use it!
Edgerton, as ever, quick to bring his forwards into play. That's good tackling, good offensive tackling from Scott Annett. His brother Niall, of course, you were watching at Ravenhill on Saturday, on the weekend. Younger brother, hooker for Ulster against Treviso. Hudson moving it out along that back line to see whether Jacob Taylor can find some gaps out in those wide channels. Edgerton looking for the runners, but such a dangerous runner himself. Trained at Worcester Warriors during the summer, played sevens for London Wasps.
Keep moving.
And of course, the Alistair Hignell medal winner in this game last season. Hudson and Taylor trying to establish a route wide out.
Stay here. Thank you.
No problems for Toby May.
Obstruction.
Good take from Yanni.
He stepped into the path.
Steps across, obstruction, blue 15.
And an obstruction from Jacob Taylor allows
Blue 15,
Cambridge just to draw their breath now.
You wonder whether that ball might have
Change
gone
of path.
straight down the pitch instead of in the air. Jacob Taylor had almost taken himself out of the game by putting that high ball up. But as it turns out, the penalty allows Cambridge to get back down into the Oxford half. And there's been plenty of play from this Oxford side, asking questions across the pitch. But so far, this Cambridge defence has been sturdy, it's been strong, it's been organised.
That's yours.
Well, key cog is always that man. Not wishing to throw analogies into this Varsity match too early, but Sampson, Martin John, Edgerton has a distinct lack of locks from last season. How is he going to impact the 2013 Varsity match? Pack pushing his forwards back into position for the next thrust. There they go again with Max Mather. Older brother Louis was wearing the number 7 shirt for Oxford 2 years ago in this fixture. It's not a big day for the Mather family. Yet again, Nick Jones coming off his wing. Quick throw back in, and it's tight head Frank Saunders. Cambridge battering at the Oxford door, but the Dark Blues holding firm on their own 22. Stevens looks for a different route. That's good offensive tackling from the Dark Blues, just pushing their opposition away. Stevens has to step in to perform a familiar role for him. And suddenly the ball goes loose, and it's in the hands of Henry Lamont.
Advantage is over.
Had such a disappointing start to last year's Varsity. Great take from Stevens. Well, he's got the ball and he's got 5.5 for the backward roll as well.
Entry. Number 6.
And they get the penalty now.
And
Stevens has taken a hit on that shoulder.
I'm almost surprised the referee didn't penalise Gus Jones. Didn't really let him get up off the ground. Got hit, and got hit hard. Looked as if he just got jammed right on the ground there. This would be a big blow to Cambridge. Big offensive tackling. Oxford making good decisions in defence. When to leave the ruck alone, when to counter ruck, when to compete. Those double tackles. So we see the backward roll. He's still on the ground. Well, it's a 50-50 call, but certainly takes a big hit there.
It's one that he couldn't pull out of, really, isn't it, in that scenario?
Absolutely committed. And he's on his knee.
He's on his knee, though. Also flirting with that touchline on the right-hand side, but
he did so well to actually get the ball in the first place. Slightly off balance.
There's Andy Abraham, who, of course, played at fly-half in the fixture last year. So if needed, that would be a like-for-like, but this Cambridge Blue hinge this season has been so potent, so strong, and they would have wanted to get a lot more game time than 25 minutes. Yeah, the shake of the head is worrying for Cambridge fans.
Tom.
Can Don Stevens continue? It doesn't look like it. Well, 2 key characters already out of the Cambridge lineup. There's Tony Rogers sitting behind Andy Key and Brett Deacon. So Andy Abraham gets his second blue, and how disappointing for Don Stevens, the 26-year-old.
About halfway to between. About halfway in between.
Bids adieu to Twickenham. Well, we talked about this at roughly the same point last year with John Carter leaving the fray for Oxford. Now, how are Cambridge going to react to that exit?
Well, Carter left the pitch last year and it galvanised Oxford. They, to a man, stood up to that additional challenge. And this is when you see these young men come of age and show their character. You never know, this may well just lift this Cambridge performance to another level. Certainly a big opportunity for Andy Abraham coming into the 10 position.
What time? I don't know how he got there.
Well, the Oxford forwards again squeezing their opposite numbers, but the ball's still there for Harry Peck. Big responsibility, of course, on him, but can't afford to make errors like that one, that's for sure. Cambridge won 7 of their 12 fixtures this season, a draw as well. Victory over Sydney University, making it 4 wins in a row to give them good momentum coming into this fixture. First time for a long time, Tyrone, we've had both of the Varsity teams playing against the same opposition. They've both beaten Sydney University as the tourists came over celebrating their 150th anniversary.
Yeah, having that barometer, you'd almost look for more of a signal, and there wasn't really very much coming out of it. Both sides won similar types of margins and similar sort of shape coming into the game.
And that would seem to indicate that we're going to get quite a tight contest this afternoon. Pick up from Michael Rickner. In the mix at Exeter Chiefs, led the England students and Exeter University. Came off the bench last year. Hudson. Out to Yanni again, just opening his stride and getting past his man. Good tackle from May, but the ball just putting some wind in the sails of Oxford inside the Cambridge 22.
Advantage.
Now, can they make this momentum count as they have the advantage from the referee? The step from Henry Lamont, and is it Henry Lamont? I think it's Henry Hughes actually that's gone over. Well, Oxford making possession count, and they level it with that second try.
Well, a strong running. Yanni took it through and then got absolutely minced by a great tackle by Toby May, but the ball came back quickly. Again, there are players there, but they just exposed Cambridge on the outside. Lovely step, and step out again, strength, and just punched his way to the line.
Well, it was indeed Henry Lamont. Had such an inauspicious start to last year's Varsity when he dropped the first high ball in front of this West End, but he will be loving that now. I'm sure all the members of Guildford Rugby Club down there in Surrey will be lifting a pint or two to their protege.
Showed great balance and footwork there, just evading the first tackle, and from then on it's just force of will. He got a sniff of the line.
Matt Yanni taking over kicking duties from John Hudson. Swinging it just to the left. Well, another opportunity for points goes missing, but it's even Stevens on the scoreboard as we approach the half-hour mark. A vibrant, dynamic start from both teams.
It is. You know, at this level, you're always going to see the odd missed tackle, you know, brushing somebody aside, and that's where the opportunities come from, is sometimes just simply backing yourself in a one-on-one situation. And from that distance, you got pace, you got a bit of balance, you know, you can be very threatening.
Well, the unforced error from Yanni, not helping his team out now and offering Cambridge the chance to push themselves back into attacking position. That is a great tackle from James Bormer-Harris, as he's known. Had Premiership experience with London Wasps, played for the Dragons, played for Wales Sevens as well, and really putting Scott Annett back on his derriere.
Well, to be fair to this Cambridge pack, they keep on running at the Oxford forwards, trying to get a platform to release the light blue backs, but certainly Oxford, their defence has been superb up to now. They really seem to be relishing these physical exchanges, trying to put these Cambridge players on their backsides time and time again. Really offensive tackling.
9 minutes to go now till the break. A critical 9 minutes, I would suggest, in the course of this 80 minutes. Psychologically, there could be huge scars put on either side if they can get a decent score before the break.
6 away!
10 points apiece as Ian Williams, the big Oxford tight head, described to me as a coiled spring before this game. Edgerton can't take the ball cleanly. And the Night Blues savour the possession.
That was taken in, Watto.
Release kick doesn't find releasing of the pressure.
Happy, Watto? Yeah.
Lamont keeps hold of the ball. Edgerton
use it!
just checking where his team want to work through next. Edgerton coming around for that 1-2. There's Hudson trying to slalom his way through the Cambridge defence. Kicking game not really working for Oxford, it has to be said. The pressure put on Andy Murdoch.
Use it!
Forcing the Light Blues into some sort of exit strategy now.
Advantage,
that's not what they wanted to see from Scott Annett.
Step back.
You can just see
Advantage is over.
a few frayed nerves in the Cambridge ranks. Just cannot get Oxford away from their 22. Can the holders capitalise on this pressure before the break? Again, the kick
22
not
drop out.
helping.
I think the mindset of these two sides is Oxford will not want this first half to end, and Cambridge will be begging to get into that changing room at half-time. Oh, a little mistake coming. Terrific defence, mind you, from Cambridge. I mean, they've tackled their hearts out, but you get those little breaks in focus and concentration, hands the momentum back to Oxford. Oxford will be wanting to get back at Cambridge after that score in the far corner.
Well, there's the stats that show what little 22 advantage has fallen to Oxford thus far. Certainly it's on the up as Sam Edgerton gets them once more into the Cambridge 22. The Cambridge defensive line, which was so strong and fast last season, really being tested now as we move towards half-time. They've got to hold their resilience, hold their elasticity to keep out this
That's a good
dark
carry.
blue surge led by Nick Gardner. The forwards really had the bit between their teeth now. Carter, as ever, leading his men from the front. Here's Will Rowlands, team secretary this season. Little kick over the top again, not working in the close climbs, close vicinity of that Cambridge defence, and the moment has gone for Oxford.
Well, Oxford seemed to just run out of ideas. Would have been much more tempted. They were getting yard after yard through the pack in the close quarter stuff. Maybe just keep it there, just keep battering at this Cambridge fringe defence.
Time is off.
But as they do, you wonder, is it going to open up for Edgerton at some stage? He hasn't quite made that breakthrough, that little snipe around the corner yet, but you get the sense that it's coming because they're looking at this Oxford pack, trying to make those tackles. If they get sucked in, that will open the space for that man, Sam Edgerton.
Looks like we've got a bit of a serious injury here to one of the Oxford Blues. Well, psychologically, they've got to stay together now. They've got to keep the focus.
Right, Roger. Absolutely.
Michael Ricknack calling the shots in the middle
Just keep working
of that huddle.
When you see that huddle as well, and you think about 13 of those Oxford players who took the pitch, who have been here before, have got that varsity experience, and it's in these pressure moments, it's in the key, 5 minutes before half-time, 5 minutes after half-time, that last 5-10 minutes, that's maybe when the experience comes through. But at 10-all, I think Cambridge will be delighted. I mean, they've spent 2% of their time down in that Oxford 22. But they've made the most of their opportunities, come away with points almost on every occasion.
There's Edward Doe coming onto the park for the Dark Blues. Just looking to see who he's going to be replacing. And it looks like it's James Bomber Harris.
Well, on both occasions it's been great finishing by wingers, good hands to release them into space, and also Captain John Carter coming up, converting that scrum pressure and domination.
There we see Oxford's response, and what a big response it was under that man John Carter. just see John Carter there, and if you look closely you can see the numbers underneath the motif underneath the Oxford shirts. For those statos amongst you, those are the cap numbers from Oxford Blues for the first time. 1140 is Carter's number. In 141 years, there's only 8 caps difference between the two sides. Quite remarkable coincidence more than anything else. Tyrone Howe has number 977 attached to his CV. Jake Taylor 1187 and Ian Williams 1188. Such an important part of every rugby player's CV, I suspect.
It's just quite relieved that I'm closer to the 1,000 mark than the 500 sign of age.
This, of course, the hors d'oeuvre for some great European rugby again on Sky Sports this weekend. Glasgow against Cardiff Blues. The return fixture, of course, rounds 3 and 4 segueing almost seamlessly into 160 minutes of action. The Ospreys bringing cash to the Liberty Stadium. That's on the red button on Sky Sports 3.
You are the lord of the dance.
So many big games in the Heineken Cup. So many campaigns will be dictated by the outcome of this weekend's result. Now, James Wade just looking on concern now. That injury to James Harris of much concern to the former Sale Sharks Academy manager. Harris was one of the calendar against breast cancer this season, various states of undress in front of 12 Oxford landmarks from the Oxford Blues lineup. Right now, cause for concern for the Oxford Blues open side. All due care and attention being taken, of course.
Well, it's the scene that you least want to see on the pitch, and you just hope that it comes through okay.
Let's get down pitch side to Rupert and to Brian and Hoppers and get their thoughts on that first half thus far. Rupert?
For Oxford University, leaving the field number 7, James Harris.
It's a line out up here.
Andy McDonald wearing 22 for the Oxford Blues, getting his first blue.
We've got to wait for the car to get
Like for like replacement really in the back row for the Dark Blues.
Not yet.
Just waiting now as Harris is taken from the field. We'll endeavour to bring you an update on his condition as soon as we can. Matt Carley biding his time to get the match clock back underway.
Time on.
So 5 minutes to go till the break. It's even Stevens. There is McDonald. Great run to start his varsity career. Impact player off the bench. Yanni has numbers outside him, takes the contact but takes Oxford back in the 22. Hudson swings the ball out to Gus Jones. The offload doesn't find the security of an Oxford hand, indeed just edged forward as Henry Lamont was coming on the look for his second try.
Well, we see Oxford again just getting that offloading game, something that they really haven't had too much of. They've been doing the one-off runners, but all of a sudden, those passes beginning to stick.
Yes, please, guys, that's the mark, yeah.
Charlie O'Sullivan just came up, enthusiasm getting the better of him, the number 20. The Cambridge side just opening up a little bit of space in front of the posts.
Well, another change for the light blues before the break, and another back rower off. Max Mader being replaced by Nick Valjean. Valjean normally a second rower, so I'm expecting to see Jack Baker go back into that back row.
Yes, 9.
See how that sets up for Cambridge, but it's deja vu in terms of the scrum. And again, the Oxford pack turning the screw on their counterparts.
And then kicking the ball out.
And surely this is a chance to put Oxford in front just before the break.
Well, listening to Brian's comments there, you wonder who's actually going to take this. But, oh, well, it's been the story of the half as well, just the dominance in the scrum that Oxford have had over Cambridge.
Stays the right side of the scrum. The ball, yeah? Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, John Hudson retaking kicking duties.
As soon as he comes in the field, he'll get the goal.
Last year, it took them the best part of an hour to get themselves in front.
They're enough.
This year, well, it could be a half-time lead for Hudson and his teammates. Simple 9-iron for John Hudson, and it is Oxford who have pushed them their noses in front just before the break.
If the score remains like this at half-time, that's a real psychological boost to this Oxford side. They've dominated possession, spent more time down in this Cambridge half, but maybe haven't quite translated it fully into points. But that's just the 3-point cushion. That's going to be tough for Cambridge to take after having battled so well.
The last 2 minutes before half-time.
Stay 6. Stay. Thank you.
Is anybody going to blink? Is anybody going to make the move? That could put a key score on the board before they head to the hutches. Well, Cambridge have found themselves in good position. Now, can they put pressure on the Oxford line out?
Lovely kick from Nick Jones, and for Cambridge to be able to just convert their chances, they need to get the ball into Toby May's hands, into Nick Jones's hands. Skill, good bit of pace, big strapping lads.
The athleticism of both sides gets more and more impressive, and sometimes you have to remember that this is amateur rugby, the purest rugby, as Joe Roth called it. But sometimes we expect, I think almost subliminally, the athleticism that we see week in, week out from professional rugby players. Great hit from Zandy McDonald.
Use it!
Peck out to Abraham. Cook tries to slide something through. Doesn't quite find the touch. Jacob Taylor. Oh, a little bit too much ambition perhaps from the Oxford 15, but that's the way he plays his rugby. You can't criticise it. First minute or the last minute of the half, it doesn't seem to matter.
Yeah.
Well, they might be that little bit smaller than your professional, modern professional player, but when you put the conditioning that they have together with absolute commitment, because you do not step onto this pitch without wanting to absolutely give everything. You spill blood for your side. But when you put that together, it's a potent mix, and it means big physical collisions, and it means that the ball spills sometimes. You get little half chances, so you've got to take what comes your way. Cambridge, well, the time's up on the clock, but they'd love to get something out of this last visit.
And again, the scrum is minced, and Oxford really enjoying such dominance, such supremacy up front. The ball will head to the stands, the teams will head to the changing rooms, and it's Oxford Blues with their noses in front. A great 40 minutes of rugger.
It's Oxford 13, Cambridge 10.
Well, replacements been brought off the bench for both sides into that Cambridge front row. Pat Calvert and Sam Alderson trying to make a difference to the way that the Cambridge pack was operating against their Oxford counterparts, really under all sorts of pressure in that first 40. Tom Reeson-Price, I think, on in, there he is wearing 19 on into the Oxford second row. Both teams had motivational talks from previous Blues over the course of the last couple of days. Mike Hall appeared, the Welsh international who turned down Wales to get his Cambridge Blue. He had a talk with them yesterday, and John Allen, the former Blues captain, flew over from Australia to talk to the Oxford side.
In the middle.
The 2003 captain who played with a broken leg and hasn't played since, I'm told. But motivation and composure now, Tyrone, is going to be critical to both sides as they look to settle themselves into what should be an intriguing final 40 minutes of this Varsity.
I think the biggest changes in the front row for Cambridge is going to be really interesting to see how the scrum holds up. They've got to get that sorted, otherwise it's very difficult to see how they can provide any sort of platform to get themselves back into this game.
Not immediately available.
And Oxford, they'd be more than happy with this start, just playing the game in the area of the pitch that we spent most of the time, just really just between the 22 and the 10-metre line in that Cambridge half.
Well, Lewis Anderson is going to have to cope with Sam Alderson now. There he is, sizable unit at 6'2" and just under 19 stone. But can he make a difference to the way that this phase of the game has been working, or not working as it turns out, for the Light Blues so far?
Yes, 9.
Not much difference to that. On against the head, and suddenly Oxford threatening down this near side channel. Rowlands leading the way. A try now psychologically would be a huge plus for Carter's side. Edgerton, and it's Edgerton once again who's breached the Cambridge line and has his try, as last year, changed the course of this match. How significant was that?
Well, we talked about the experience, and that comes through in crucial parts of the game. The 10 minutes, you know, the 5 minutes either side of half-time, well, first of all, it comes from the turnover in the scrum. I mean, that's, you just cannot get away with that, really, at any sort of level of rugby. And then the forwards took over, and they're so looking at the forwards, it just opens the gap up for Edgerton. The first break he's made, but what a telling what it was. I think Andrew Smith, the open side for Cambridge, just a little bit over-egging it. But 3 points before half-time, 7 coming now. You know, that's a massive swing in the space of 4, 5, 6 minutes.
Well, it certainly is a better looking scoreboard now for the Dark Blues, that's for sure. But Cambridge have shown against the Steel Podgers this season that they have the resilience. They were under the caution behind on the scoreboard for the majority of that game, but came back to win it by a solitary point. Now they've got to show the composure and the belief that Andy Key has installed in them to say, hang on, we can do this. We've just got to bide our time. I guess the key, Tyrone, is whether the Light Blues are going to have to change their game plan because of the stress that their scrum is under.
The problem is that they've now, you know, they don't need to chase the game because it's too early in this second half, but they've got to play lots of rugby, and the problem is that's going to put their handling skills under pressure, and if their handling skills come under pressure, we get any sort of knock-ons, fumbles, that reverts us back to the scrum.
Oxford
And so it's going to be interesting. Are they going to play more for line-outs, try and get their forwards into the air more, try and get first phase ball from that position? But certainly their skills are going to come under increasing scrutiny in the second half.
5.
Well, it'll be fascinating to see how they adjust their game plan. The news on James Harris, incidentally, who we saw stretch it off just before the break. He has a dislocated hip, I'm told, and is on his way to hospital, no doubt getting the best possible attention. He'll be happy to see that scoreboard now is benefiting his side. 35 minutes though to decide who is going to step up to lift that trophy. Alderson using his bulk, but the rest of the Cambridge forwards not able to hold on to that ball and that skill set under pressure, just failing the students on that occasion.
Yeah.
Well, the Cambridge they've been under the cosh for a long period of time in this game, but they have never taken a step backwards other than in the scrums. But they are keen still to challenge this Oxford fringe defence in terms of ball carrying, but unfortunately their skills letting them down and they're taken straight back to the scrum again. And as you've seen in those couple of clips, it's been probably the most striking feature of the game so far. It's just the dominance that Oxford has in that area.
Certainly it's been the perfect platform for Carter, for Edgerton, and of course knock on then from John Hudson and his backs.
It's the psychological impact as well. You're going back in the set piece. That's a real, your pride's being damaged there, and it comes across then in the ball carrying and every
the backs
aspect.
see that as well, of course.
Fine.
Well, it's a huge challenge, a huge test for all these students. What are they going to be up to now?
Standing up.
There's another penalty for the Dark Blues. New ingredients into that front row engagement, but the same result.
As Brian Smith said, it certainly looks as if the referee has made up his mind which way he's going to adjudicate, and certainly the penalties are just coming time and time again at scrum time.
No, you've got to stay in the scrum. Outside. Thank you. On the line, please.
Well, the referee, Matt Carley, one of the first refereeing scholars at Gloucester University, and now under the tutelage of Chris White, and getting good references, it has to be said, good reports, calm under pressure, been likened to Wayne Barnes in the way that he can manage the game. Rowlands takes possession, 6'8" of second row there. He's 22 years of age, and as I mentioned, a man with great rugby potential, been involved with Northampton Saints and their under-19s and their Wanderers. Isolated there, and Cambridge now trying to run their way out. Courtney Morrison just taking his eye off the ball.
Use it!
A clearance kick, finding its target just about. Courtney Morrison just taking his eye off the ball. There he is. 29 years ago, it was his dad who was a Cambridge Blue. That was Ian Morrison, of course, went on to represent Scotland, played up against a Stuart Barnes. I'm not sure whether Barnsley was an educational prodigy, but that probably makes him about 11 when he played in the Varsity, doesn't it? A take works for Cambridge as Oxford come round the corner. Considerable surge from their forwards once again, puts this Cambridge defence under pressure. There's McDonald, the South African back rower,
On his feet.
just before the break to replace Harris. There's a turnover and it's worked for Cambridge. Well, they're not going to be able to draw breath, but at least they can try and manufacture position to get out of their own 22. Abraham opts to put it along the line. Well, that was fairly easy for that blue line to just drift and accommodate the next ball carrier. And Cambridge still under pressure. Good work from Nick Villierne. Cambridge born and bred.
No.
Huge responsibility now on Harry Peck with the absence of Don Stevens from fly half.
19 offside.
Young scrum half. His godfather, in fact, is Tony Rogers, erstwhile Cambridge coach. Now really has to show his class.
Just stop. Okay, there's a man down.
Well, Cambridge have done very well to effect 2 turnovers.
Graham.
And on both occasions
Can you
trying to
just
get the ball across the pitch. And that second occasion, very flat and laboured. But in the first, it was just a handling error. There is space out wide. And
where there was any interference with his face, please.
you get the feeling that they've got to try and get the ball into these wide spaces, try and unleash what looks like a dangerous back 3.
Matt Carley just checking a moment when I think Nick Villiers had some massage to his face, he says politically. As Graham Hughes just been asked to check out what went on there in the contact situation. There we have it. Looking to see the Cambridge 19, there he is. More pulling the scrum cap off, I think, than anything else, wasn't it?
It's not the sort of game where you see any real malicious play. I certainly think if there's anything there, it's over exuberance or just trying, as you say, trying to get the scrum cap off. But as we've seen on a few occasions in the past, getting the scrum cap out, trying to reach for the lid of the scrum cap, you run the risk of encroaching upon that eye area.
Yeah, sure.
But certainly it's not the occasion where you expect to see it. And I think if there's anything there,
it's innocuous at best.
It's innocuous.
There's only ever been
clumsy.
3 yellows in the history of this contest. I know there haven't been yellow cards all the way through, but when you think the first 9-10 years of it, there was no referee at all.
No, it's a clumsy challenge. Just in the desperation to get that ball.
Might be a little more than we thought there, as Edgerton's right hand came into contact with the replacement second rower.
Certainly it does not look pretty from that angle. Just dragging that head as he's on the ground.
That's the position there that will interest Graham Hughes, I think.
So the problem is, as well, as players in the past have found, when you slow-mo it, as the fingers are brushing the face and brushing the eye, it obviously looks incredibly dangerous. But you can imagine maybe groping for the top of the scrum cap. Does it naturally go down to that cavity? But certainly in that slow motion, it does not look pretty at all.
Well, this could be a very big call from the officials, as we know the influence that Edgerton has had on this game and could have over the next half an hour. Here's the call.
Are you there?
Yeah, I have a report for you.
Okay, I've seen it on the screen. Number 9, Oxford interferes with the player's face on the ground.
Yes.
Yeah, red card.
Yes.
Number 9.
Well, here's history that we don't want to see made, because we're going to see the first red card in the history of the Varsity match, and it's gone to Oxford's 9, Sam Edgerton.
Where's the captain?
Well, this match dynamic changes once again.
But I think based on the footage, you can have no arguments with that decision. Clear interference with the face on the ground. It's an easy red card. It's an easy decision for the referee to make. It may not be one that he wants to make, but it is the decision that's required on this occasion. Whether or not, I'm not sure that intent is there, but it certainly, as we said, did not look good on the ground there, and the right decision taken by the referee.
Control your discipline,
well,
please.
Hero 7 minutes ago when he went over the try line, quickly reverting to 0 now as he sees red and forces the Dark Blues to play with 14 men for the final half an hour of this game. How will that affect this match equation? What does it do to Oxford? What does it do indeed to Cambridge?
Advantage is over.
And we saw James Wade make a huge tactical decision at this point in last year's game that ultimately gave Oxford victory. He's now going to make a different tactical decision as to what he does to the scrum half role, how he changes his lineup.
Forward pass.
On the bench, he's got Matt Shorthose, the obvious replacement at scrum half.
On our feet.
Well, certainly to Cambridge, it gives them a sniff It just reignites those embers of hope. If they can just somehow claw themselves back into this game, get 3 points on the board, and then they are within a converted try. And if they can get within those 7 points, they'll fancy their chances just to get up into this Oxford half and just get something, get even a half chance. For Oxford, as early as it is in the game, I think they want to close this game down. They've got to dominate this Cambridge pack through their own forwards. The forwards now have to take control of this game.
So as you can see, Henry Lamont stepping in to that scrum half berth for now.
Heads above your hips, both of you.
Try scorer in the first half for Oxford. What a job he has now got to do for his team to hold on to that lead.
Crouch! Bind! Set! Yes, 9!
Carter losing control of that at the vital moment, but he's going to get a second chance.
The forwards will also be very clear. When we talk about shutting this game down, that's taking every opportunity they have at scrum time to try and get a penalty, to try and get 3 points on the board every single time they have a scrum somewhere within kicking range. That has to be the goal for this Oxford pack now.
Well, we talked about how coaches would change the tactics in this second half. I don't think James Wade ever envisaged this scenario. But flexibility at all costs. As Carter this time does control the ball. Lamont, well, he's going to have to hone his skills very quickly.
Off feet, denying a contest.
The support work not to the referee's liking.
If he's pushing him and the ball's behind him, it's very difficult for him to get out.
So important now for the experience and wisdom of the
pushing him into the ball,
Oxford captain to really emanate through the side and keep the calm. Fascinating interview in the Rugby paper this week with Brendan Gallagher, who described Carter. His words of wisdom aren't yet delivered in tablets of stone, but there's more than a whiff of the Old Testament about the back rower. And you just get that ethereal feeling with him in his last Varsity, taking his Masters in Psychodynamic Practice, already got a BA in Geography and Archaeology, an MSc in International Business Studies. Whoever he goes to work for, you get the feeling they've got 3 departments in one body when you employ John Carter. His man management is going to be critical now if his Oxford Blues are going to get their 4th successive Varsity win. And of course, if he's going to make history, getting a hat-trick of victories under his captaincy.
Kick at goal, T is on the field. Kick at goal, T is on the field.
There's Nick Villierne, whose face had the attention from the Oxford scrum half. Hugely physical encounter this has been.
I will.
It has, both sides. You know, you expect it to be hugely committed, hugely competitive, but you know the physicality of the exchanges has been striking. Both forwards going at it. You got big boys in the backs as well. And here we see Yanni. He's certainly the one of the pair between himself and Hudson, who seems to have the distance in his boot.
Yeah, as Brian Smith mentioned earlier on, he's the long distance option. Jacob Taylor can also kick fairly healthily from the tee as well. The left foot of Taylor may come into operation later on, but now it's the right howitzer of Matt Yanni looking to take the Dark Blues 3 points further away from their opposition. On its way, has the distance, but doesn't quite have the direction, flirting with the left-hand upright. And another opportunity for points for the Dark Blues goes a-missing.
1 white, replacement.
Well,
Captain.
Will Briggs, Cambridge captain, gives way to Will Yields, 19-year-old loose head from Esher Rugby Club.
In you come,
now
please.
looking to make a difference.
15.
The overthrow benefiting Cambridge. There's the Kiwi Andrew Smith, but there's the block by Carter. Can John Carter manipulate position now for his team? The Light Blues having to scurry back into position. Unexpected opportunity. Well, what a sea change this would be if 14-man Oxford could work their third try from this opportunity, but that penalty goes against them and the moment is past.
Number 6 hand on the floor. Turnover was legal.
Gus Jones having the finger of fate pointed at him, and Carter knows the moment has gone.
Well, Carter's body may be creaking, but he's come up with a few key moments in this game. Just sensed that he had time to compete for the ball there.
Carter said that our style of play is thoughtful, committed, expansive. I feel extremely lucky to be part of such an interesting, loyal and mentally durable group. Well, the mental pressure that his team is going to be under for the next 23 minutes or so is going to be testament to his leadership and their belief. Again, another turnover at the line-up. This time it's gone Cambridge way. There's a Cambridge forward left on the floor.
And it was Carter again who came up with that turnover at the line-out.
I think it's Jack Baker, the second row that's down there. You can see him just to the left of the picture. Play continues though. So for the moment, it's 14 aside. Lamont feeds out to his midfield. Gavin Turner showing good strength to hold on to the ball. Blues going through the phases and trying to keep the patience in their play that Cambridge really have struggled to hold on to the synchronisation, shall we say, of forwards and backs play. See Gus Jones on this near side. Nobody in the vicinity. I think Nick Jones has just spotted him, so heading out a bit further. Oh, Gus Jones tackled by Baker on one leg, putting his body on the line for the Light Blues. Well, we've seen that in a rugby match sometime recently, and I can't remember when it was, when a player suddenly appeared from an injured position and got his tackle in. Got a feeling it was Marlon Yard for London Irish. Brian Smith will remind me of that one.
Lazarus Jones, no longer known as Gus.
I've got a feeling it was Marlon Yard appearing to score a try recently at the Medeski. Well, just when his team needed him, Baker was there. He can't come off now, of course. Can't be injured. Just put a try-saving tackle in. But he's back in defensive mode as Henry Hughes drives for the line. Lamont.
Oxford look ominous here, just making vital yards with every single attack.
Up to Gardner. Oxford Hookers had a good game in the loose. Maybe the line-out hasn't gone quite as he'd hoped. Oxford forwards driving for glory. Defiant defence from the Light Blues. But how long can they hold on? Not that long, because there's the third try and it's gone to Gardner, and deservedly so. Well, the hour mark ticks over on the match clock. Is that the significant try for Oxford Blues?
Literally 20 seconds ago, I thought they just battered this Cambridge side so much. It just looked as if they were quick. Here we see...
Behind you, I know we're not quite into pantomime season, but it's not far off, is it?
But it just had to come. There was just too much force and pressure from this Oxford pack. It's really just rewards for their efforts so far today. They really have been dominant over this Cambridge 8.
Can you remember a Varsity with one pack being as dominant as we've seen from the Dark Blues?
No, I can't. And certainly, it comes from that very first scrum. It just just like a virus that went through that Cambridge pack. And my goodness, they've been dogged, but they've been dominated at the same time by this Oxford 8.
Hudson looking to repeat his conversion of Sam Edgerton's try at the beginning of the second half. No problems with this one. And now we're into a 3-score lead. What a huge moment it's been for Nick Gardner. Such a big event in the rugby calendar. Not only, of course, of the players, but also the big crowd that assembles here every December.
Knock on, into touch.
Okay, option. Been knocked on, option.
There's Will Rowlands.
Option, yes?
Yes.
A real lighthouse in that
Line out, thank you.
Oxford line-out.
Sure, Mark.
Well, John Carter has played an ever-increasing role here in this second half. You know, the charge down from the scrum, the line-out that he turned over. He wasn't sure whether he was going to make 20-25 minutes of the first half. Said, I will keep going as long as my body lasts. I just wonder, will he want to come off this pitch? This
Not right now,
final quarter, not a chance.
And especially being that crucial man down with Edgerton's red card. Can the light blues organise something from this opportunity to respond, to get themselves back in the game? Haven't scored since the 20th minute, 43 minutes ago. How they could do with something just to give them that fillip now.
2 great ball carries there.
Calvert making a difference off the bench. Peck, who's taken on captaincy responsibilities now. Carter coming through very quickly, but the ball moved out to Nick Jones, try scorer in the first half.
Advantage is over.
Opportunity knocks for Cambridge. Andrew Smith. Peck peels back the same way. Andy Abraham, though, can't find any way through. Not enough bulk on the frame of Andy Abraham. What can those forwards do? Pat Calvert gets the concrete cuddle from the Oxford defenders, but the ball still there. Now they've got numbers out to the left, trying to make the most of that man advantage. They drive again with Andy Murdoch, try scorer in the Varsity last year. They go again, and it's Will Yields. Has Yields got the ball down?
Held up.
Well, the referee in perfect position to check that.
Again, they were getting so much yardage out wide. Should they have just passed it out and allowed, out on the far side, just allowed a one-on-one, let him take his man on, instead step back in. You sense Cambridge have to get something from this time, this period in the Oxford 22. Big ball carry here.
Sam Alderson making his weight count.
Just now, just wonder, just give that ball out, allow a one-on-one, back yourself on the outside. It's where Cambridge have looked most dangerous.
Defensive durability from the Dark Blues, and there went young Will Yields, 19-year-old, driving for that moment of glory that he must have dreamed of.
Captain. Time on. Ready, yeah?
It's going to be a scrum put in to Cambridge.
Time off.
It's a matter now whether they can organise themselves to get quick ball. They can't allow it to stay in there, that's for sure.
Well, with the back three that Cambridge have, this scrum is in the perfect position. middle of the post, deep in the 22. They've got options both sides. They've got to get something from this, but they've got to get the ball, and that is going to be the first test for them.
And of course, if they go to the right, they should find a man advantage there with the left winger stepping into scrum half duties.
You stay on the line then. No, stay on the line. Right,
Lamont being told to stay.
You must stay on the back foot.
Behind the back foot of that scrum. I'm not sure whether he's inexperienced now in scrum half duties. Could count against him, certainly with an operator like Harry Peck. He's going to have to be well aware of what's coming around the fringe.
Just be steady.
Quarter of an hour to go in the 132nd varsity match.
You understand, yeah?
This a big moment. We've talked about pivotal moments in a rugby match. Well, we're seeing one now.
Bind. Set. Yes, 9. Ball away.
Quick ball. There is Peck. Gets it out to this right-hand side. He cuts back in, and it's Toby May. And that is the score that sends the light blue section into absolute ecstasy. Has it pulled them back into this varsity match?
They've got to get back to the halfway line. No time for celebrating. Toby May, he had to score that because he had players in space outside. Instead, he backed himself. He's looked dangerous right throughout this game. 2 on 1 outside, but instead steps inside. It's a frantic Oxford defence, totally committed to sidewards. Well, he knows what it means. It throws this Cambridge a lifeline.
Well, still the conversion to come, of course.
And you wanted time off because he was stood there.
2 points are critical as Courtney Morrison steps up to take responsibility. Yet again, this match swinging to and fro.
Yeah, no, I will.
Psychologically, the nerves, the belief, the durability of both of these sides now being tested to the full.
Really important kick here, really. He takes it to 10 points if he gets it.
Yeah, time on.
He's missed it. Well, pressure on the young centre, but Toby May. A couple of tries against London Scottish and a try against Sydney University already in his locker this season. But there was the step off the right foot. Oxford knew that that gap was out on the left flank, and he made the most of that to scuttle back inside.
And credit to that Cambridge pack. The scrum just about held, allowing the number 8 to pick it up.
Well, talking number 8, John Carter has left the pitch. He's played his last varsity match. Is he to be successful once again? He's got to now sit on the sidelines and watch. Well, unforced error from Harry Peck. And suddenly it allows the Oxford scrum to set up position to mount another attack. Just taking his eyes off the ball.
Time off. Time off. 11 blue. 11.
Product of Bedford School.
Okay,
Harry Peck, and a big day for them. They've got 4 old Bedfordians in the Cambridge lineup. Peck, along with Captain Will Briggs and Sam Farmer, the 8, and Cherritsoff as well, who's on the bench. 70 years ago, they had both captains from their ranks.
In the middle.
All right, Henry Lamont coming off. And now James Wade making the tactical call to put the structure in, with Carter off. No Sam Edgerton in position, so Matt Shortnose there wearing 21.
Number 7, Vine, driving into the prop.
Big call again. The scrums always going Oxford's way. There's Fraser Heathcote wearing 16, flexibility, plays as flanker or hooker.
Well, the personnel may well be changing, but the result is exactly the same. We have a dominant scrum once again, with a penalty from the referee.
As they come on with the tee, it's got to be a kick.
One would expect it's going to be another 3 points, and that would be the nail, I think, in Cambridge's coffin.
Up on our feet.
Still would be
Up on
two
our feet,
no, what am I saying? Would be just over two scores, and psychologically, of course, we know the benefit of that, and especially when you've only got 10 minutes or so to the end of the game. There's Fraser Heathcote, another man who's been involved with the Northampton Saints Academy, member of Leys School, like Nick Villierne on the Cambridge side. Was actually here and scored a try for the under-21s in last year's Varsity. John Hudson in kicking 60% so far. The value of these 3 points, though, absolutely immense. Bisects the posts and puts Oxford up to 30 points to 15 now, with 10 minutes left on the clock.
When you consider that John Hudson has left a penalty and conversion out there, as has Matthew Janney, that's another 10 points left out in that pitch. You know, it really is a comprehensive, it will be a comprehensive victory for Oxford, I expect.
So benches being utilised.
5. Yeah.
And again, unable to take the high ball cleanly, Cambridge defenders, that time Nick Jones.
Knock on into touch. Scrum option.
Problem is, when things start going wrong, everything then seems to unravel as well.
Knock on into
Tiny mistakes that you just simply wouldn't make. It was a great clearance kick, mind you.
Very accurate kick that worked for Oxford, and tactically that's where they need to be now.
Well, Nick Jones, he hasn't had many opportunities out in that right wing, but you know, has certainly looked dangerous, ball in hand.
Bind. Set. Yes, 9.
Again, the pick up from Heathcote. Captained the Leys here, these under-18s, to the Daily Mail RBS Vars in 2012. He's used to playing at Twickenham, and now looking to make an impact off the bench in these final throws of the 2013 Varsity. There he is again, a piston of a handoff, allowing him to get over the gain line. Turner, up to Jacob Taylor. Haven't seen much of Taylor in loose, open phases, certainly in this second half. Hasn't been that kind of a game, really.
Let go.
There is the New South Wales Rhodes Scholar.
You can play.
I beg pardon, that. It's Lewis Anderson, and he looks like he's got a problem with that knee. Well, 8 minutes left. Is it beyond the light blues now, do you feel, Tyrone, psychologically?
Well,
physically,
I think it's less psychologically and more physically from a rugby point of view. Just this Oxford side has looked so dominant. It's very difficult to see where the spark is going to come, where the half gap, where the offload is going to come from. It's been a very forceful, very high quality performance from this Oxford side. They come in the expectation as well. You know, let's not forget, this is a game where you don't necessarily want to come in with too strong a favourites tag, but they came in with 13 returning Blues. You know, all the expectation was on them, that the experience was there. They've all been here, well, virtually all of them been here before, but they've absolutely stepped up to the mark. They've produced a performance today.
That'll do.
Safe take in the middle of that lineup from Jack Baker.
First man is tackled.
And the problems at the set piece continue for the light blues.
Okay, here we are. Time off. 13 replacement.
Well, number 24 for Cambridge, James Boyd Moss coming on, but time now I think for the man of the match. Tyrone, who's in the frame?
Well, I think you could pick any one of this Oxford pack, but for me, the dominant figure in this game, as he has been over the Oxford history over the last 3 years, that man John Carter. A captain's performance, has weighed in with the try, has weighed in with really important moments in the game which have kept the pressure on Cambridge in the second half when they just had a sniff of coming back. John Carter, an historic Oxford captain today. He is my man of the match.
Certainly written into Oxford history books now for what he's achieved, both on and off the pitch. Look at that scrum from Oxford. Almost moving at will and getting the penalty once again. Well, it doesn't seem to matter who's actually lining up in that Oxford pack this afternoon. They've been able to turn the screw, able to twist the arm of their opposition at any given opportunity. Jack Taylor sends them further up the right touchline, away from their own half.
Yeah, send him on. 14 white. Where's 14? 14?
More subs now being brought on. Ilya Cheretsov, the Russian winger, comes on for his second blue. The take, Gus Jones, another impressive performance from the England under-20s player. Short hose, Hudson just not on his toes enough to take that pass. Referee says it's gone back now, and Will Rowlands is happy to reset. The forwards now really enjoying their work. Heathcote up to the 22. All the Oxford players out to that right-hand side. Again, short nose, keeping it going to the right. This time it's Tom Reeson-Price. They go again. And Zandy McDonald. Well,
ball has to be immediately available.
Is going to come to naught, but to be honest, with the clock ticking down now, that's where Oxford want to be, inside or near the Cambridge 22, forcing the Light Blues to play pretty much from their own try line. Andy Murdoch, well, yet again it looks like he's going to be tasting defeat.
On the ground, not on bodies.
Yeah, it's interesting given the difference in, we talk about the Corinthian spirit, the unique quality of the varsity match compared to the hard-nosed professional game. Some basic truths come through at whatever level, and that is that the set piece, forwards win games. The set piece is so important no matter what level of rugby you see. And this university level, this scrum, I mean, Cambridge have coped okay in the lineouts, but the scrum has been the defining feature of this game. You've got to have your set piece solid.
And in the bigger picture of the varsity, you see so many kids around Twickenham today, and for them, like me, you know, this is their first taste of Twickenham. This is their first chance to get to HQ, and hopefully, like those gentlemen there, they keep coming back and coming back. It has its place in the rugby calendar, you feel?
Well, those old chaps we just saw are simply big kids as well, and they've probably been coming for the last 40 years or have attended one of the universities or played in the varsity match itself. It really, there's an enduring love affair with this fixture. It has got special qualities.
There's a special moment for James Wisson, an unused replacement in 2010 and 2012. Now though, James Wade is going to give him his blue.
Yes, 9.
He'll be hoping that the next 3 minutes allow him to get on as the break comes from O'Sullivan. Well, there's the penalty as O'Sullivan is isolated and holds on, and immediately Gavin Turner points to the post. Big moment for the Wisson family, product of Dulwich College that has produced so many big players, the likes of Nick Easter, David Flatman. John Dawson, former Cambridge captain, emanated from there as well. Andrew Sheridan, another big prop.
We'll do it after the kick.
James Wisson is desperately trying not to smile as he steps over the white line.
Well, in terms of his university career, you can see the pair of them coming on. These are the biggest 2 minutes of their rugby lives.
Well, they're going to wait until this penalty from John Hudson has been executed.
They'll be thinking, hurry up. They won't want him to take his 60-second allocation.
Thank you.
Hudson with another chance to just bang a resounding nail into the Cambridge coffin. Job done from the Oxford fly half.
Send them on, just send them on.
And the benches are coming on. Wisson, there he is, wearing 17 on for his blue. Edward Doe also on.
14.
A big moment in the life of 25-year-old James Wisson.
Changes for Oxford off the field with 2 Nick replaced by 17 James
Oxford now just winding things down before they can start celebrating their 4th successive victory. There's Fraser Heathcote, what an impact he's made off the bench. Ray McGilchrist also on now. Tired Cambridge bodies trying to put themselves in the way of this Oxford juggernaut, but they're merely road bumps as the Dark Blues move their way back into position. Taylor, oh, an interception. Now, is there enough gas in the legs of Ilya Cheritsov? Well, good covering from Matt Shorthose.
He had control of the ball.
Well, a brief flourish to finish the game for Cambridge, but it was not to make any difference to the scoreline. The pass from Taylor, and the Russian thought he was pinning his ears back for glory. Not to be.
Well, he got reeled in, but there's no shortage of drama in a varsity match. We've had a red card today, which you never see in this fixture. We've had tries out wide, we've had a number of pickups, big collisions. Really, you know, maybe the standard's just that little bit down from professionally, but the game has had everything, and it's what keeps people coming back.
Certainly you have not been able to take your eyes off this one.
Advantage, no arms in the
Still,
tackle.
the light blues keep going.
No arms in the tackle.
We're into red on the clock. But can Cambridge make a difference?
Go back.
Just with the final sayers. Inevitably, tempers start fraying. Words are said which might be inopportune at this point in time, especially for the likes of Scott Annett, winning his 4th blue, never to be victorious.
Okay, all right, come here. Right, the pair of you, calm down. Time is up. Okay. You do
Well,
something silly and
Tyrone,
leave the field
it
now,
has
you
been
look very stupid.
another classic Varsity with so much for people to talk about now, both in the West car park and beyond. It really, you know, we talk about a red card. Edgerton was in the headlines last year. He's going to be in the headlines again this year. But Oxford's achievement is quite superb for 4 successive wins on the trot. Momentum once again with the Dark Blues. Cambridge keep going, plucky as they've been outdone up front. Oxford kept them down inside their own half for so much of this second half.
Stolen, first man.
The ball comes out, Oxford side. The ball heads towards the east stand, and Oxford write another page of history. Tyrone, enjoyed that?
Yeah, really watchable. Too strong in the day, Oxford. Great performance, led by John Carter. The pack really took the game by the scruff of the neck, and they converted their pressure into points. A very, very impressive victory for Oxford.
Oxford win their 4th successive varsity match. John Carter makes history as the first captain to win a hat-trick of victories with that scoreline that reads Oxford 33, Cambridge 15.